The rain came down in relentless sheets, turning the city streets into slick rivers of reflected neon. Streetlights flickered in the wet haze, and the rumble of distant thunder echoed through the night. Mara Henderson had been walking home from her late shift at the hospital when she saw him, an elderly man, hunched and trembling, trying to navigate the slippery sidewalk without an umbrella. His coat was threadbare, his shoes soaked, and his hands shook as he gripped the rusty railing of a nearby fence. Something inside her stirred, an instinctive urge to help, a spark of compassion that refused to be ignored. Without thinking twice, she ran toward him, calling out, "Sir, do you need some help?" For a moment, he seemed startled, as if he hadn't expected anyone to care. His eyes, pale and clouded with age, met hers, and in them, she saw vulnerability, fear, and something else, an unspoken story of years gone by. He nodded hesitantly, and she gently offered her arm, guiding him step by careful step through the puddles, over the slick cobblestones, toward his home several blocks away. The rain plastered her hair to her face, soaked her clothes through, but she barely noticed. Her only focus was ensuring that this frail man reached safety. As they walked, she felt a strange connection, as if fate had deliberately placed them together on this stormy night. The man's name was Harold Whitman, he finally said, in a voice cracked from age and disuse. He spoke little after that, but each small word, each faint smile, told her he was grateful beyond measure. By the time they reached the modest apartment building at the end of the street, Mara was drenched, her shoes squelching with every step, but a warmth filled her chest, a satisfaction that came from helping someone who truly needed it. She watched as Harold fumbled with his keys, struggling to open the door. Without hesitation, she reached forward to help him, and when the door finally swung open, he turned to her with a twinkle in his tired eyes, whispering a heartfelt, "Thank you." It was a small moment, fleeting, and yet it felt monumental. Mara waved goodbye, hurrying home, dripping and exhausted, her mind replaying the image of his grateful face. That night, as she changed into dry clothes and sank into bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that their encounter was more than coincidence. She wondered about his life, the hardships he had faced, the people he had loved and lost. And somewhere deep inside, she felt a quiet hope that kindness, no matter how small, had the power to ripple outward, to change someone's day, or even their life. Before we continue, if you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, make sure to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs a reminder of hope, and subscribe to Kindness Journal to keep spreading love and inspiration. The next morning dawned gray and overcast, with clouds hanging low over the city, still heavy with the memory of the storm. Mara, still feeling a lingering sense of peace from the previous night, went about her routine, coffee, breakfast, and a quick check of her email before heading into work. Life in the city had a rhythm of its own, a ceaseless flow of busy streets, urgent footsteps, and hurried greetings. And yet, in the midst of all that chaos, Mara couldn't shake a nagging curiosity about Harold Whitman. Something told her that their encounter had been more meaningful than just a random act of kindness in the rain. She arrived at the hospital, greeted her co-workers, and tried to focus on the day ahead. But a persistent thought gnawed at her. What if Harold had needed more than just her helping arm that night? What if a small gesture could have changed his life in ways she hadn't imagined? She pushed the thoughts aside, telling herself she had done what anyone with a conscience would have done. Yet, she couldn't ignore the sense of anticipation that seemed to hang over her like the lingering clouds outside. Meanwhile, Harold Whitman sat by his window, the rain still tapping softly against the glass. He stared out at the gray morning, but his mind was not on the dreary weather. Instead, it was consumed with thoughts of the young woman who had helped him home the night before. Mara's kindness had awakened something in him, a memory of his own mother, long gone, who had taught him that compassion is never wasted, even if it seems unnoticed. He realized that he wanted to repay her, though he didn't know how a man like him could ever do so. His life had been filled with quiet struggles and modest victories, and generosity had never come easily. Yet, for Mara, he felt a stirring of determination he hadn't known he still possessed. By late morning, Mara's day had settled into its usual rhythm, mundane but comforting. She tended to patients, answered calls, and navigated the hectic hallways with practiced efficiency. Yet, as the day wore on, she began to notice little signs of the extraordinary, the way a patient's smile lingered longer than usual, the small thank yous that carried more weight than they seemed to deserve. And then, during a short break in the staff lounge, she felt a tap on her shoulder. Turning, she was met with the sight of Harold, standing there in a simple coat, slightly damp from the drizzle outside. Her heart leapt, surprise and confusion mingling in equal measure. "Harold," she said, her voice a mix of disbelief and delight. He smiled, shy and deliberate, and handed her a small, carefully wrapped package. I wanted to thank you," he said simply, almost awkwardly, but with a sincerity that filled the room. Mara took the package, her hands trembling slightly as she untied the ribbon. Inside was a hand-knit scarf, soft and warm, in colors that seemed to reflect the sunrise, the kind of hues that could lift the heaviest heart. Alongside it was a small note, written in careful, deliberate script, "For the kindness you gave me, which I will never forget. You reminded me there is still good in the world." Tears pricked Mara's eyes. The gesture, simple yet profound, carried more weight than any words could convey. In that moment, she realized that acts of kindness, no matter how small, could create connections that transcended time, age, and circumstance. Harold's gratitude was not just for the help she had given, but for the humanity she had shown, an acknowledgement of his worth in a world that often overlooked the elderly, the vulnerable, and the forgotten. Over the following weeks, Mara and Harold grew closer. She visited him during her days off, helping him with errands, sharing meals, and listening to stories of his youth, tales of hardship, resilience, love lost and found, and the simple joys that had sustained him through decades of solitude. She learned that Harold had once been a talented craftsman, a man who could create beauty from nothing, yet life had pushed him to the edges, leaving him struggling to make ends meet in his twilight years. And she, in turn, shared her own struggles, the loneliness that often accompanied her demanding career, and the quiet longing for meaningful connection. Their bond became a lifeline for both of them. Mara's life, once a blur of routine and fatigue, now held moments of genuine joy, laughter, and reflection. Harold, too, felt a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that the simplest gestures of compassion could illuminate even the darkest corners of life. And yet, neither of them could have predicted the extraordinary turn their story was about to take. One chilly Saturday morning, as Mara walked toward Harold's apartment, she noticed a small crowd gathered outside. Her heart raced, a premonition whispering that something significant was happening. As she pushed through the crowd, she saw Harold, standing in front of a modest table filled with handcrafted items, wooden carvings, handwoven scarves, and delicate jewelry. A sign above the table read, "A gift for you, paying forward kindness." Harold looked up as she approached, eyes shining with pride and humility. "I wanted to do something meaningful," he explained. "Something that could honor the kindness you showed me, and inspire others to do the same." Mara felt tears sting her eyes once more, overwhelmed by the depth of his gesture. It was more than a thank you, it was a movement, a call for people to recognize the power of small acts, to see the potential for goodness in every interaction, no matter how fleeting. The story of Harold's table quickly spread through the neighborhood, inspiring passers-by to share their own acts of kindness. People began leaving notes of gratitude, helping strangers, and connecting with those who had been overlooked. Mara watched as her single act of compassion rippled outward, creating a wave of hope that touched dozens of lives in just a matter of days. It was a testament to the truth she had always felt deep in her heart, that one person's kindness could ignite change in ways no one could foresee. Before we continue to the very end, if this story has touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps spread these messages of hope, love, and second chances to the world. As the weeks turned into months, Mara realized that her life had been irrevocably transformed, not just by her encounter with Harold, but by the awareness that empathy and generosity were forces capable of creating tangible, lasting change. She began volunteering more, organizing small community events, and encouraging those around her to reach out, even in the smallest ways, to those who needed it most. Harold, too, found renewed joy in teaching others his crafts, mentoring young people, and sharing his story of gratitude and redemption. Together, they had formed a bond that transcended the ordinary, proving that human connection could heal, uplift, and inspire in ways words alone could never capture. On a quiet evening, sitting together by Harold's window, watching the sunset bleed golden and amber across the city skyline, Mara realized that the storm that had brought them together had left a far greater legacy than either of them could have imagined. A simple act of kindness, a helping hand, a warm smile, a moment of care, had blossomed into something extraordinary, a reminder that compassion is never wasted, and that even the smallest gestures can create waves that echo far beyond their origin. Before we close, we'd like to commemorate the beauty of human connection and the power of everyday heroes. Let us never forget that moments of kindness, no matter how small, can alter lives in unimaginable ways. And so, Mara and Harold's story remains a living testament that love, empathy, and selfless acts can illuminate even the darkest paths. Their bond serves as a gentle reminder that each of us has the power to make a difference, that every act of kindness matters, and that the courage to help someone, rain or shine, can change not just one life, but many. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or made you believe in the goodness of people again, please engage with this video, like, comment, and share it with someone who could use a reminder that kindness matters. Together, we can continue to spread hope, compassion, and connection, one story at a time.